Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us this Wednesday. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Jay Kohn. The nation said goodbye to its 41st president today, George Herbert Walker Bush, laid to rest at a state funeral in Washington this morning.
And tonight, the president's body arrived in Texas, where a state and nation welcomed him home for good.
CBS's Courtney Zabowski has more now from Houston, where another celebration of life is planned tomorrow.
After Wednesday's state funeral filled with love, laughter, and praise, the body of former President George H.W. Bush arrived in Texas for a final farewell. In Fort Worth, the Navy prepared to honor Mr. Bush on Thursday with a 21 aircraft formation. Earlier at the National Cathedral in Washington, he was celebrated as a family man, war hero, and leader.
His was the brightest of 1,000 points of light. In victory, he shared credit. When he lost, he shouldered the blame.
President Trump and 3 former presidents listened as former President George W. Bush delivered his father's eulogy.
He showed me what it means to be a president who serves with integrity, leads with courage, and acts with love in his heart for the citizens of our country.
Mr. Bush's loving remembrances often fill the cathedral with laughter.
The man couldn't stomach vegetables, especially broccoli. And by the way, he passed these genetic defects along to us. We tested his patience. I know I did.
He became emotional while remembering his father, mother, and sister who died from leukemia at the age of 3.
A great and noble man. The best father a son or daughter could have. And in our grief, let us smile knowing that Dad is hugging Robin and holding Mom's hand again.
On Thursday, George Herbert Walker Bush will be laid to rest next to former First Lady Barbara Bush, who died earlier this year, and their daughter Robin. Courtney Zabowski, CBS News, Houston, Texas.
Mr. Bush's remains will lie in repose at St. Martin's Episcopal Church until Thursday night's funeral service and burial. Actually, Thursday afternoon's funeral service and burial, which will happen at the Presidential Library grounds at Texas A&M University.
Well, here in Montana, as we watched in awe of today's funeral, some believe the biggest takeaway, the nation coming together.
We asked political science professor Dr. Paul Pope at MSU Billings to share his perspective.
It's a powerful message I think they send when they do this much prestige with a state funeral like this. It shows you the importance of the office. It shows you the importance of the person that they're laying to rest. We saw in this funeral and the speeches and commentary since George H.W. Bush passed that he had a lot of respect, and he had a lot of respect on both sides of the aisle. And you could see that at his funeral, all the pomp and circumstance. It was very respectful. It was without any type of the partisan rancor we've been used to. And so it was impressive, and I think it's the right kind of message we want to send the country.
Dr. Pope also said he believes out of respect for the late president, the partisan fighting on Capitol Hill may at least be put on pause for a few days.
But as a nation, he says the partisan rhetoric will likely pick back up very soon.
Back here in Montana, a key piece of the state's criminal justice sentencing reform still sparking debate over how it should work.
The issue concerns criminal offenders who want to be released early from state supervision. Mike Dennison reports.
A new law passed last year says if a low-risk offender has a good record on probation or parole, they must be considered by a court for early release from state supervision. But prosecutors and judges have raised objections, saying the law improperly allowed probation officers to file the request. On Wednesday, a group of law enforcement and court officials presented a proposed fix to the process.
This is a legal process, and it is flawed. As everyone recognizes, we really need to make sure that we've got a process that's consistent statewide first.
Their proposal says the prosecutor or the offender must make the request in court. It also says the offender's victim must be notified of the request. A state oversight council on sentencing reforms agreed Wednesday to support these proposed changes before the 2019 legislature, which convenes next month. But Peter Ullman of the Office of Public Defender said he's concerned that the changes don't ensure the request will be filed in court. Lambert said he's open to discussing different language, but that the process needs to be standardized.
all of these are being treated differently by district judges and in different judicial districts all around the state. And that's not fair. That's not fair to the defendant. It's not fair to the judges. It's not fair to the crime victims. It's not fair to any of us who work in the systems.
State Corrections Director Reg Michael also said he's willing to work on changes, but that the original goal should remain to reduce the number of criminal offenders on supervision.
And if we can move ourselves closer to identifying those who don't need to be under periods of supervision for 10, 15, 20, 25 years, I think we'll find the benefit of that buried somewhere within.
Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Thank you, Mike. Mike tells us it'll now be up to the 2019 legislature to make a final decision.
In other news tonight, a Laurel man is behind bars facing assault charges for allegedly punching a Billings police officer while trying to steal a patrol car naked. 18-year-old Randy Riley charged today with felony assault on a peace officer and 3 counts of criminal mischief. Court documents state police noticed Riley early Wednesday morning walking down Washington Street in South Billings shirtless. Refusing to obey orders, police say Riley charged them and attempted to get inside a patrol car to steal it. He then started to run away from officers and at one point stopped to strip down naked in the middle of the street. Riley then climbed onto a patrol car, damaging the hood and roof. After getting tased in the back, Riley turned around and punched a Billings police officer in the face. He was eventually handcuffed and appeared in Justice Court this afternoon.
The Montana Supreme Court heard arguments today in a legal battle between Governor Steve Bullock and Attorney General Tim Fox. The issue over who has authority to approve conservation easements. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian tonight brings us a closer look at what's behind this dispute.
On Wednesday, the state Supreme Court held oral arguments with attorneys for Governor Bullock and Attorney General Fox. The case revolves around the Horse Creek conservation easement east of Glendive. Montana FWP negotiated a $6 million agreement with the land's owners to provide access for hunters and other recreational opportunities. In February, the proposal went before the state land board, which includes the 5 top statewide elected officials. They voted 3-2 to delay action on the easement, but Bullock decided to go forward with the deal anyway, arguing a conservation easement isn't an actual land acquisition, so it didn't require land board approval. Senate President Scott Sales asked Fox for a formal opinion on whether Bullock's action followed the law. Fox's office determined the state purchasing an easement or buying an interest in land also had to be submitted to the land board. Bullock and FWP Director Martha Williams then asked the Supreme Court to rule that only direct land acquisitions needed the land board's okay. The governor's legal counsel said there are other laws where actual land purchases and interests in land are clearly distinguished.
When the legislature intends to include in the sweep of its provisions interests in land, particularly like this interest here, conservation easements, which are non-possessory interests in land, it knows how to say it.
The Attorney General's office argued the governor was overstating the distinction. Fox's attorney argued if there's a dispute about the meaning of the law, they should follow the procedure that's been followed for decades, where the easements were submitted to the land board.
Governor Bullock, the petitioner in this case, himself, as a member of the land board, has in fact sat on numerous land board votes on conservation easements without ever saying, wait a second, I'm the chief executive here and land board approval is not necessary.
In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
And Jonathan tells us that both Attorney General Fox and Governor Bullock supported this easement during the land board's meeting in February, while Secretary of State Corey Stapleton, State Auditor Matt Rosendale, and Superintendent of Public Instruction Elsie Arnson voted to delay it. The final decision now up to the High Court.
Turning to weather, things are chilly but calm here, but just south of us, Bob, that is not the case.
It is a major storm that's going to cross from one coast all the way to the other one, and it's going to do it by the time the weekend's over with. Let me show it to you. We didn't get a chance to talk about it too much yesterday, and so here it is there. It's a big low-pressure cell off the California coast. It's producing a lot of rain there. They're seeing 1, 2, and 3 inches of rainfall in parts of Southern California, and so watch what happens. This thing is going to take the low road and go down through Arizona and New Mexico, and we think by the time Friday morning is here, it's going to just start to make its way into West Texas, picking up a lot of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, throwing it right through Houston, all the way up to Dallas, and even to parts of Ardmore, Oklahoma. Eventually, that low is going to make its way in towards the central part of Texas by Dallas. It's going to produce heavy rainfall there by Saturday, 2 a.m., and then it starts producing snow from New Mexico, from Albuquerque, all the way through Oklahoma City into Tulsa. It's going to be, in some cases, 3 to 5 inches of snow there, but by the time the rest of the weekend is over with, that'll be out in the Atlantic Ocean and will have no effect on us, but we will be kind of chilly for a couple of days. We'll chat about that in a few more minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Bob.
Well, are you looking for that perfect Christmas gift or that stocking stuffer? Well, may we suggest the state capitol Christmas ornament for 2018.
It's the work of the Capitol Restoration Foundation, which sells the ornament to raise money for various projects. Now, this year's $25 decoration bears the Great Seal of the State of Montana on the front. Engraved on the back are Montana's symbols, including the state flower, tree, animal, and bird.
Those ornaments available for purchase at the Montana Historical Society Museum store.
Coming up on tonight's news, a coal company's restructuring plan is drawing criticism after it fails to impress the federal bankruptcy court.
Plus, HGTV's Dream Home is unveiled, and it's here in Montana. We'll take you on a tour.
And later in sports, Scott sets up the National Finals Rodeo with Clay and Travis Tryon, who now view the chase differently.
You're watching MTN News with Jay Kohn and Jeanelle Slade. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.